Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Return to In-Person Events panel. We're so excited that all of you could be here today with us. And even though we're not able to be together in person at Leadership Conference this summer, we're still excited to connect with all of you virtually. Please make sure to use the chat below to chat with us, either while you're watching this session or afterwards. We'd all love to chat with you. And also you can go to the description below and we're all tagged in there, all of us panelists, so you can find our emails. And please feel free to reach out to us with any questions after this panel. We'd love to connect with you further. So as you can probably tell by the title in this panel, we are going to be talking about returning to in-person events, this kind of weird time period we're all in, where we're going from mostly virtual events in school to mostly in-person events in school. Just like we kind of all had to transition to virtual events when the pandemic started, we're now all transitioning kind of back into in-person events. So we have some panelists here who are going to be talking about their experiences with virtual events and in-person events and hybrid events and all their different ideas. And hopefully give all of you some ideas and resources to take back to your chapters. And we are all from the Best Buddies Young Leaders Council, or the Best Buddies YLC, which is a group of young leaders that work to make the Best Buddies experience better for participants. And feel free to follow us at Best Buddies YLC on Instagram or YouTube to connect more with us later. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to first have all of us panelists introduce ourselves, and then we're going to get started with the question. So I'll go first. I'm going to be the moderator for this discussion. My name is Sophie Dalton. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. I am a part of James Madison University Best Buddies in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And I have been in Best Buddies for 5 years now. So Zach, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Zachary Siegel. I am a member at the University of Texas at Austin chapter. I've been in Best Buddies for about 7 years now. This is my first year on the YLC, and I am originally from Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Kelly, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kelly Cotter and I'm from Mercer Island, Washington, and I'm a part of the Mercer Island High School program, and I've been on Best Buddies for about 2 years now.
Great. Margo?
Hi, I'm Margo Meley. I'm from Willimantic, Connecticut. I'm a part of the Eastern Connecticut State University's chapter. I'm also a Best Buddies Connecticut State Ambassador. I am the second-year member of the Best Buddies YLC, and along with Sophie, we are incoming co-chairs.
Awesome. Will?
Hi, I'm Will McClennan. I'm currently at Virginia Tech University, and I'm a member of their chapter there. I'm from Arlington, Virginia, and I have been involved with Best Buddies for five years now, I think.
Awesome. Danielle?
I just muted myself again. Hi, I'm Danielle. I'm from Dublin, California. I was part of the Dublin High Best Buddies chapter, and I've been in Best Buddies for about 3 years.
Great. So now we're going to hop into the first question, which is kind of going back to this past year with everything with COVID and virtual events. So the first question is, how were you able to engage your members virtually this past year? Kelly, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think one thing that I kind of utilized was kind of the unique opportunities you could get from doing things online. So we did obviously a lot of Zoom hang-ins, but I think one thing that was very exciting for people is that I kind of did a collaboration with other Best Buddy Washington high school chapters in the area. So we did a big group hang-in with some people from Roosevelt, and I think just seeing new faces was really exciting and really engaged people to keep on coming to our Zoom calls. And we just got to do a bunch of fun Zoom activities that we never really did before. So I think that's how we got people really excited.
Great. Margo, what about you?
So I'm a buddy in the Eastern Connecticut State University's chapter. And when the pandemic first hit, I think it was we were all trying to figure this out. We were all trying to figure this out together. And so we kind of, so my chapter kind of just shut down hard during the spring semester of last year, when the pandemic actually became a thing. But as the new semester started, the fall semester started last year, it was okay. We're gonna focus on, trying to make these events virtual, collab, make them fun, make people, become engaged and, excited, even though we're all together, but we're virtual. I think that we did movie nights and we did a craft online. We really tried to soak in as much as we could. I know, for example, I'm a martial artist. I'm a first degree black belt. That is not through Special Olympics. That is on my own time. I've been studying that for 11 years now as an adult. And I offered to teach a karate class. So everyone in my chapter was virtual. I was in the dojo with two of my instructors, and they kind of were there to balance me out and help me out a little bit. But that was my offering. So
awesome. Danielle, what about you?
When thinking about kind of like virtually engaging chapters, I think there was a huge silver lining with this past year, because when we were in person, how our chapter kind of worked, we had our weekly meetings, but everyone was kind of like mingling amongst themselves. There wasn't like huge group activities. And so when we transitioned online and we started having our weekly meetings on Zoom, I thought it was such a huge opportunity to kind of like start creative activities that engaged all of us in one huge group. And so we did things like escape rooms, and I know Margo was talking about like movie nights, crafts, like we did those too. And so I think that was one of the best parts about virtually engagement, because we could invite everyone and everyone was kind of interacting with the same activities. And we also got like our the transition program to come in and join our weekly meetings. And so that made the club even larger than it was normally. So when I thought about like virtually engaging, it was just really fun to like have our creative juices flow and like do it in an even larger environment than we normally would.
Great. Zach?
Kind of going off of what Danielle said, switching up different activities that are done every week. Something that we really found that was super helpful and super engaging for our members of our chapter was kind of making it more of a family event. Weekly having family game nights, little mixers for other people's communities to come and join our community was really, really helpful in kind of breaking down that wall of the stigma of being on Zoom and being virtual. I think in the very beginning of the pandemic, nobody was really aware on how to navigate this new chapter of life that we're taking on Zoom. And by opening up the door to bringing people's families in and having those personal one-on-one check-ins versus having huge chapter-wide meetings where one person's going to sit and talk for the entire time, it was really, really interesting to see the other ways we could do to engage the members through that.
Great. I love that. All amazing answers. So the second question that we're going to talk about is, obviously, throughout the country, there were different restrictions in different places. So some chapters were able to do more in-person or hybrid events this past school year, others were not. So for those whose chapters did do some in-person or hybrid events this past year, how did you make it an enjoyable and safe experience for everybody? And what are some socially distanced, safe events you were able to do? Will, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we had 2 events, and I think they were both really fun. And the first one, and I think the biggest one that we had, was our friendship walk. We had a smaller friendship walk just for our university, and we had about 22 people come out. And then we also had a smaller bingo event, which I think had a pretty good time. I won bingo once, which was nice. But I think with those events, one thing, especially since we did them pretty early on, coming out of COVID and out of the heavy restrictions, was working really closely with our school and with kind of the administrators that we had access to make sure that we were following all the guidelines that they put forward, and then going beyond that to make sure that everyone at our events were safe. Because not only are we were making sure that our club is a safe space for everyone to be themselves, but also to be safe just health-wise and physically. So we made sure spacing and everyone was informed on what they had to do to stay safe and stay 6 feet apart and all that.
Great. Kelly, what about you?
Yeah, I totally second what Will said, but I think that another thing that we did is that we didn't really pressure anyone to come in person. We also had like a Zoom option. So like while we were doing the activity, we had like a Zoom call going for some of our members who decided to like stay at home. And we did activities that kind of like worked for both of them. Like one thing we did like during our like mock friendship walk, we just had people like FaceTiming in buddies and walking around, which was super fun. And then another activity that worked really well for both like hybrid was Simon Says. That was really successful.
Great. Love to hear it. Now we're going to move on to the third question, which is focusing more on this upcoming school year when hopefully all of us are going to be able to be more in person. So when thinking about this upcoming school year, how are you planning on safely returning to in-person events? Zach, we'll start with you.
So with the pandemic changing in every single day, it's something new. It's really important that we follow the recommended CDC guidelines, keeping in mind what the health officials are saying in certain communities. Keeping in mind as well, like what your school or university is doing in order to combat the COVID-19 virus. Keeping in mind though that a lot of our members tend to lay in the high risk category, and you have to take a look at your chapter and see what's going to work best for you. Are masks still going to be what's best in this scenario? Are we still social distancing? Things like that we have to take into account as well. All members will have different levels of comfortability with things like masks and social distancing, things like that. Reduced occupancies as well is something that kind of gets like slipped in the back of the mind, but it is super important, especially when planning events on larger scales as we get back to in person and getting hopefully back to normal. It's vital to keep in mind that like all possible effects should be made to ensure that the event is adherent to accommodate as many people's level of comfortability as possible. Vaccines are beginning to roll out a little bit more widespread, and hopefully things will get back to normal throughout this next semester and next year. However, for the current time being, it's super important that as an inclusive organization like Best Buddies, we're doing the best we can to accommodate the most wide range of people in this scenario.
Yeah, definitely. Will, what about you?
Yeah, well, Zach kind of hit it around the head. He did a good job with that. I think that what I'd kind of echo is that idea of communication and how important the communication between your members and all the people in your club is, because you really want to make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable with the safety restrictions you have. And that means talking to your faculty, to your staff, to your buddies, to your associate members, and to parents as well, and making sure that everyone is on the same track, on board, and that they know what you're doing. So you can do a good job of just making sure that everyone has that kind of same narrative that you're working on. And especially, it's really important as we come back to being able to see each other face to face, to think that for about a year now, we haven't been in person and we haven't had that opportunity to connect, in one-on-one or in a group setting. So, it is necessary. And I know Zoom's really easy because you can just roll out of bed and, hop on. But it's really, it's nice to be able to get back into that kind of community in-person aspect, as long as we do it safely. And that transition comes, with, as I said, communication and following safety guidelines set out by your school or by your state or by, the country. So.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of going off of that, our next question is, what support do you have in your school or among Best Buddies staff to help you with returning to in-person events? And what does that support look like? So Margo, we're going to start with you.
Okay, well, listening to Zach and Will, I think they both hit, really the major points to make that, to make this the next question. And I've been thinking about it as well. And, I think the allowance of, virtual platforms should still be a thing, because just because you or I, may already be vaccinated, doesn't mean that everyone else in the population would be. And so I think that making it known that, we have the technology and the support to still provide, activities, as long as we're, following, the safety guidelines and everything like that. So I think having that aspect still be a thing for the foreseeable future, so that people, are confident and comfortable that, they're able to participate in the activity as well.
Yeah, definitely. Zach, I'll go to you now.
Yeah, so before the pandemic, Best Buddy staff, administrators, school leaders, group home directors, their role was always to be as much of assistance, especially when taking a look at Best Buddy staff. And that's something that hasn't changed with the migration to online events. So when we're taking a look at moving back to in-person, it's super crucial that you keep in mind that full-time Best Buddy staff, your fellow peers, are there to give you help and assistance and to walk you down that road one by one if need be. This is all such a treacherous time for all of us, kind of understanding what's the best step to do next. But just like before, there are many chapter materials on Best Buddies Online, also known as Best Buddies University. It has all the tools, with more coming soon as we continue to navigate the pandemic. All registered Best Buddies chapters have access to their program manager in their region or state. Professional staff from Best Buddies can guide you on your chapter, like I was mentioning, one by one, to get you back on track if things get tough or you're hitting a roadblock and just kind of really unsure on what's next steps to take. Aside from Best Buddies full-time staff, it's really, really important to be transparent with your officer corps, other members of the Best Buddies community that plays a vital role in giving you the ability to host these events and such things, keeping in contact with administrators, principals. It goes a long way. I think if you show that you're putting in effort as a Best Buddies chapter and you're asking for the extra help or maybe that extra push or need some extra assistance, be sure to reach out to those people that are in your corner to help make your Best Buddies chapter amazing. More than ever before, though, as the pandemic continues to progress and as the 21st century continues to take off, a lot more people are relying on social media to get their information. They're not going to bestbuddies.org to look up to see what event we're having. They're checking Instagram, they're checking Snapchat, they're checking Twitter. And with us being virtual, that is something I think would be worth considering, to keep that online social media aspect, just to keep people more involved. And like Margo was mentioning, not all people are going to want or feel comfortable coming back to in-person events right away, and still offering those options to help people stay involved and engaged are super, super important, especially when taking a look at the Best Buddies mission.
Yeah, definitely. And then this next question kind of rolls off of that one as well. But what plans do you have to engage members who may not be comfortable coming back to in-person activities right away at the start of the school year? So Kelly, we'll start with you for that one.
Yeah, I think one thing that I found that was really helpful is kind of leaning in and emphasizing like the one-on-one friendships, especially for people who like don't really feel comfortable being in a big group of people. So like if someone does not want to go to like our like in-person like chapter hang-ins, that's totally fine. But like working with like their buddy to make sure that they're still having like the same social opportunities and are still doing fun things like in person or even on Zoom, I think is really, really important, just to make sure that everyone feels included and that like they're still valued in like our little bubble.
Yeah, definitely. Will?
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. And you also mentioned, I think, earlier about how having people at the meetings virtually, having someone who might be carrying around, an iPad or their phone on a Zoom is always a fun way to get people involved in whatever's going on. But there's definitely, as we've kind of like grown through this year, we've been able to kind of all, understand how to use Microsoft Teams and Zoom, and kind of how those can play a part in, maybe having like an information night for Best Buddies or a virtual online meeting that you would have too many people for an inside event. Because I think as we transition, there's still really a big place for Zoom and for those online meetings, which aren't as fun as our in-person events, but they can be utilized to kind of make the club experience better for a lot of people. And then I think it just comes down to that, as I talked about earlier, that connection, and then opening that dialogue between people who can't or don't want to go to events in person yet. And how do you make sure that they're feeling included. How are they doing? So a lot what Kelly said, but yeah.
Great. Margo, what do you think?
I believe that if I'm being honest, I believe that Kelly and Will touched on some really good things I agree wholeheartedly with. I really think that Will's right. If someone's carrying the iPad or the phone around, that key part of inclusion, regardless if it's an event or even a meeting, it's really critical to feel that somebody at home, is included, because that's what we thrive for. That's what is all important to us. And I feel like with moving forward, because we we're becoming mask free in some aspects. We're vaccinated in some aspects. We're still social distancing. We're still trying to be safe. And so I think moving forward with following those CDC guidelines, and, the safety of, the school or yourself, or whatever, I still, I think I'm strong on that. We should still, have that virtual aspect, as well. And, also include, activities that might be versatile. So, you can do them in person, but also have someone have them do them on Zoom or Teams or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. All really great points. Our next question is, what advice would you give to new chapter presidents and officers when it comes back to transitioning to in-person events? Danielle, we'll start with you.
I think one thing that makes Best Buddies as an organization really unique is the fact that you definitely don't have to put in as much effort to engage your members, because what I mean by that sounds a little bit iffy, but I'm sure a lot of the panelists here have different leadership roles in other organizations, and I definitely do myself. And one thing I noticed was that I didn't have to put nearly as much effort to try and get members to come to our meetings. And I think that has a lot to do with the unconditional love that's a part of Best Buddies, a sense of family. Like, people are going to show up to your meetings just because this is such an amazing community and we have so much fun together. And so when I'm thinking about chapter presidents who are thinking about engaging their members next year, and the advice I want to give is, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Make sure you ask for help, because this is such a supportive community. Ask your members what they want to see happen. Rely on your fellow officers. Rely on your advisors. Rely on the Best Buddies staff that's there to support you. I think what makes Best Buddies amazing is that it's truly a network of passionate individuals. And so don't stress too much. You're going to do an amazing job. And yeah, I think that's the best advice I have.
Yeah, definitely. Kelly, what do you think?
I totally agree with what Danielle says, but I think that it's also really important to make sure that no member of your chapter feels left behind or not included because they don't feel comfortable coming in person, and just making sure even though the majority of the people are okay with doing one activity, but still to remember that there's other people who maybe aren't as comfortable as everyone else. And then something that Danielle said that I think is super important to echo is that especially for high school chapters, really relying and using your advisors as a resource. I've found this super important, because especially for high schools, I think the majority of the advisors are special education teachers, so they're with a lot of our buddies every day, and they kind of know the good limits and activities that would work for their students that's still safe for everyone. So I found really involving my advisor in our planning process and officer meetings has been really valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, those are both great points. And I think that idea of reaching out and connecting to our network of Best Buddies, because we have a really fantastic group of people, is really cool and important. And the two groups that I'd add on to those lists that we had, I think faculty was mentioned, and advisors, and your officer corps is also the people who have aged out of your program through your officer corps, all of the alumni, chapter presidents and chapter leaders, and then also other schools around you and those chapter presidents. And especially at YLC or at LC, here now, this is a great way to network. And I think you guys, when it happens, you'll have opportunities to kind of talk to other people from your area, other people from across the country, and that those leaders have information that you might not have thought of. So listening to them and growing and learning from them is really important. And then also when it comes to, your past chapter presidents at your school, they had regular years. And if you ask them, they'll be able to tell you information that you might not know because, you've had virtual for the last year and a half. You probably didn't come in with the high officer role to the chapter before the pandemic hit. So, it's a learning experience. And with that, there's a lot of opportunity for growth. So I think you guys can do really cool things. But making sure you reach out and rely on that network is really important and really, really beneficial to your club. So.
Yeah, definitely. And our final question is, what in-person event are you most looking forward to this upcoming year? Zach, we'll start with you.
So getting back to in-person events, the one I'm probably looking most forward to is definitely the Best Buddies Friendship Walk. I think it's a great example of everything that Best Buddies stands for. It echoes community, it echoes friendship, it echoes love, it echoes inclusion. And I'm so happy that Best Buddies was able to find a solution during the pandemic to still have similar aspects to the friendship walk to keep it as true as it normally is. But I'm so excited to get back in March and parade with all of my fellow Best Buddies friends and getting back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. Danielle, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to steal Zach's answer because I so agree. I've actually never attended a friendship walk in person. We had the one in April where our chapter kind of like met together, but I've never attended the San Francisco one in like Golden Gate Park where kind of like everyone comes together. And so I'm really looking forward to having the chance to do that next year when in-person events are starting up again. And I think it's not really an event, but I'm just looking forward to kind of a new Best Buddies environment. Obviously, I love the Dublin High chapter. It's something I hold so dear to my heart. But I'm really looking forward to being involved in a college chapter, kind of seeing like how college chapters work differently than high school chapters, and just being able to engage with a new community. I'm just really excited for.
Yeah, all great answers. Well, that was our last question. I guess I'll just wrap it up with a couple points of my own. I definitely agree with everything that everybody said. All of these panelists are amazing leaders and have great advice. And we can all really learn from them and their experiences. What I would say, if I had one piece of advice for return to in-person events, it would be that you should know that you're not alone. This is a really crazy kind of transition period, and we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to do the best thing possible for our chapters, for our members, for our community. So please know that there are resources for you, whether it's your program managers in your state, other Best Buddies leaders in your community, us on the YLC, us on this panel are always here to support you. We would love to connect with you. If you have any questions or want to chat with us, please reach out to us because we are a resource for you as well. Reach out to your parents in your chapter, to your members, and just to other people in your community, your school administrators, your advisors, because we're all in this together and we're all doing the best we can and trying to continue to spread inclusion in our chapters and in our communities. And also, please, if you have any fun in-person events or fun hybrid events and you post them on social media, make sure to tag Best Buddies YLC because we love to repost events that you all have and we just love to see what you're doing. And yeah, just a quick reminder, please use the chat below. We'd love to chat with you and click on our profiles to email us or connect with us. Follow the YLC on social media. And yeah, we'd love to connect with you further. So we hope all of you enjoy the rest of Leadership Conference and get to go to some other fun sessions, maybe come to some of our roundtables. We'd love to see you there as well. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in person next summer in Indiana. But until then, have a great conference. Bye, everybody.